Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we're going to be playing with my boy Dark Confidant. This is a card advantage engine that I absolutely love playing in Legacy. However, it hasn't really kept up with the power creep of the format over the years. Partially because some of the newer, highly playable cards have a high mana cost that is reduced by something else. Think of things like Kappa Cannoneer and Murktide Regent that don't actually cost very much mana, but have a high converted mana cost, so you would take a lot of damage from it. So a lot of times, if you want to make the best out of Dark Confidant, you need a whole bunch of lands. So let's take a look at what we're playing today. And today's video is sponsored by cardconduit.com. We'll take a look at them a little bit later. So today we are going to be playing with a variant on the Dark Depths combo that Jeffrey has called Mid Depths. So a lot of times the Depths decks are named according to their speed, with a Turbo Depths deck playing things like Lotus Petals and Spirit Guides to go as quickly as possible, and a Slow Depths deck might have a lot of things that let you grind, say a Green Sun package, some random things like Grist. This mid-speed Depths is looking to play some things that are kind of hate bearer in nature that actually can attack for a decent amount of damage, especially if they are given exalted triggers. So the primary game plan of making a Marit Lage by either ripping all of the counters off of it with Vampire Hexmage or copying it with Thespian stage to result in a 20/20 creature, that's still plan A, and we have various tutors to accomplish this goal. But while a lot of depths decks don't normally win unless they attack for 20 at a time, in a world of a whole bunch of white removal, having other creatures that your opponent has to use their removal on because they're, well, annoying is a pretty good idea. Speaking of annoying, I think that's the word that I would use to describe our sideboard, with powerful haymakers like Choke and difficult to answer creatures like Turok Dread Canter being sort of the bulk of the sideboard plan. So I guess, kind of, what do you think about this deck, philosophically speaking? Is a Legacy Depths decklist supposed to go turbo and go as fast as possible, or is it supposed to slow down more than this? You know, is this mid depths, is this medium depths viable, or am I not leaning enough in one direction or another where I kind of end up with a diluted deck list? Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and let's battle. What a thing of beauty, this opening hand. I have the Stage Depths combo. I have either two pieces of discard to push my way through opposing removal or whatever, or I can start grinding with Bob, depending on what I'm seeing on the other side of the table. This is great. If all my hands look like this tonight, I will be very happy. Why did I say tonight? It's like 8 in the morning. Alright, we might need to do some grinding if my opponent is playing a Flooded Strand. I think I'm okay with Inquisition over Thoughtseize here. No cantrip? No creature opening hand? Would you have kept that? Would you have kept that? My opponent is gonna top deck a creature and I'm gonna fucking die and I'm gonna be so mad. Ooh. I can make my thing next turn. Thought seizing my opponent is probably not great here. They're still going to have another show and tell. What do I have to answer a Marit Lage that's put into play? Basically nothing here. Or not a Marit Lage, like an Emrakul. I can play Hexmage now while it's less likely to be countered. Or I can play Dark Confidant to try to get another look at something like an opposition agent. I think I just have to dodge here. I'm going to go ahead and put this into play this turn while it's less likely that my opponent has drawn a Force of Will or Daze. And attempt a Thoughtseize into Dark Depths next turn. Cool. I will play a Dark Depths. Get a new look at my opponent's hand. Hey, Force of Will that I was talking about. No spell that I play matters at this point, but second Show and Tell is pretty unlikely to matter as well. So I guess it technically could. I'll just take a secondary Show and Tell here. Attack for 2. My opponent is going to go and do their deck thinning here, I presume. They just gotta hit a creature this turn, or they die. That's scary. And my opponent conceded. So I would have mulliganed their opening hand. So what do I want here? Choke is reasonable but slow on the draw. Caracas is probably a must-have so that my crop rotation can find an answer to a legendary creature. Urok is very slow but not unreasonable. Assassin's Trophy does some things in some specific spots for getting rid of some creatures and some played out sneak attacks and stuff. Like, I can think about this. I probably don't want Abrupt Decay. However, there is a new card. I think it's Vesuvan Drifter. I think Vesuvan Drifter is the name. It's a decently large body, like a 2/4 body on a 3 mana card. And if my opponent is playing that, then Abrupt Decay is actually important. As of when I'm recording this, Brian, aka Bosch and Roll, 5-0'd with that card and released the video yesterday, I think. There's a good chance that that is happening. I could snuff it out instead of Abrupt Decay at the cost of no mana, but it's counterable and it makes my Bobs slightly worse. I don't think I want to be playing Decay specifically for that one card. Picking Torok seems too slow on the draw. Play a Snuff Out. I will cut a Wasteland since I'm bringing in a Caracas, and then I can play a second Snuff Out. And I'll be happy enough with this. This is a weird looking hand. So I can disrupt my opponent once with Inquisition, but I don't have black to play these, and like I'm very much on the aggro plan with this hand. I think I'll just ship this hand despite having lands and spells. I don't think it has a good plan. Any black land. 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 hits for a fast Marit Lage. Double disruption and out to the Vesuvan Drifter. I think this hand is sketchy, but probably justifiable on the draw. I still make my first 2 land drops, even if I miss on a colored source for some of the lands. And if I play out Dark Depths and my opponent casts Show and Tell, I can just put in Vampire Hexmage. Yeah, I think given that, I keep this hand. Oh, that's not bad. I do think I go ahead and lead on the Thoughtseize still here. If my opponent has exactly counterspell for this into Show and Tell, I get punished for not going Dark Depths pass, but that's a lot of specific things happening. It has to be like Soul Land, Show and Tell, plus other card here, or like Lotus Petal. Alright. Why do bad things happen to good people? We'll put in the Hexmage here. Is bad against Archon of Cruelty specifically. Is Atraxa. Right, there's Lotus Petal. They keep an Emrakul, an Ancient Tomb. That's what I know about as of right now. I'll drop this. We'll go ahead and Thoughtseize my opponent. They can brainstorm in response if they would like. Daze. That for mana, so that is successfully countered. And I'll pass the turn. Opponent needs 1 more mana to sneak attack Emrakul me. Like, I know they have the Ancient Tomb. Yes. It's very unfortunate that Snuff Out does not work on Atraxa. Move all the counters from Dark Depths. Urborg. Not bad. My odds of winning this game are not good. They are also not 0. Atraxa does the jump block here. I want my opponent to do Ancient Tomb damage to themselves, so I'm going to play Thespian Stage. And we're going to try to rip the Emrakul out of my opponent's hand and hope the Brainstorm does not get there. Shuffle up. So I know that they will have red mana to activate after they cast a Brainstorm. This is fully does the Brainstorm hit an Emrakul. It hitting an Atraxa is bad. It hitting an Archon is bad. But it hitting an Emrakul pretty much ends the game on the spot. Oh, Draw Ponder. That's even worse for me. They get to Ponder, get 4 looks at a creature. They randomly hit a second Ponder. Get 4 more looks at a creature, but not the ability to put it into play this turn. Okay, that's another shuffle. That's great. Elvish Reclaimer. I hit my opponents for 20 of their 22 life. And then I'm faced with some decisions. My opponent still has 3 mana for a Show and Tell, even if I turn Ancient Tomb into a tappable land. If something happens to my Marit Lage, and I play Urborg, I have a better chance of making a new Marit Lage next turn if I randomly top deck a Dark Depths. So I think I am going to play this. Downside of playing this is that if I do get Emrakuled specifically, I lose 2 more permanents. This sort of situation is where the Assassin's Trophy would be good. Alright, they are at 1. New Brainstorm. This is their last chance to find a creature. They found it. Okay, yeah, there's the Emrakul specifically. Has protection from spells that are 1 or more colors, so I lose 2 more permanents for playing out Elvish Reclaimer and Urborg there. Which is rough. Alright, Petal's fine. And they'll sack their Emrakul and shuffle it away. Thank you, Snuff Out. I am dead to literally any creature. My opponent is also dead to literally any creature. So we've got that going for us. But my opponent has cantrips and I don't, so I think they are highly, highly, highly favored. Like they can sneak attack in a Spirit Guide and I die. Alright. I will let them reveal for that. Nothing new and exciting there. Alright. So, for the game where I'm on the play, the chokes are a little bit better. The Assassin's Trophies are a little bit better. They were slow for my game on the draw. I haven't seen a Vesuvan Drifter yet in like 40 cards between the 2 games. Maybe I don't hedge against that specifically here, and I change Snuff Out for Assassin's Trophy. I think I will do that. So, this is a similar hand to the last one, except any land makes this reasonable. I'm going to go ahead and keep this. Dauthi seems like the easy first play, and we'll do that off of Bayou. Alright, how do I want to play this? I can take the Brainstorm and just be playing with perfect information about my opponent's very clunky hand. Or I can just take the Force of Will and try to resolve Vampire Hexmage ASAP. The Force of Will stops Bob and Hexmage. I think I take the Brainstorm. And that card is just so good. Joke. Not the best draw here, and we do see some awkwardness in my opening hand now. Second turn gone. Okay, I did hit a land. So this situation needs to be play Bob to bait out the Force of Will that I know about. And then we can Vampire Hexmage later. Alright, they have exiled Omniscience to their Force of Will. Bob has successfully been baited. Force has been baited, rather. Battle's fine. That's interesting, but I can't really play it here. I'm just in the position where I jam Hexmage and hope things work. No ability to play around a daze or anything here. Hardcast Force is somewhat likely. My opponent played out this Lotus Petal and gave me that information. Yeah, so this is still a 2-for-1 because I get Lotus Petal and Force of Will for my troubles. I need this 3rd true mana to do Choke and Opposition Agent. Well, fuck me. That's probably the game. Yeah, I have 1 forest in this deck. I do not have a basic swamp. So in order to do anything that really matters, I have to find both my Singleton Forest and Ignoble Hierarch. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to do a jump cut. Alright, we played draw, go for a turn cycle, and then my opponent is casting a Show and Tell. Whatever they do probably beats whichever, like the creatures that I put in. I think I'm going to go with Dauthi Voidwalker on my end. maybe I somehow end up, discarding an Emrakul. Oh, they get Sneak Attack, Lotus Petal, Emrakul, and I die next turn. Okay, yeah, play your mana. I can see that I'm dead. There's a show and tell with a void counter on it. That doesn't do anything. I don't have the black mana, unfortunately, to Thoughtseize and rip the Emrakul out of their hand for a win. The Blood Moon got me good. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Card Conduit. Selling cards kinda sucks. Card Conduit's trying to make it easier, and they do that by taking all the best buy list prices and aggregating it for you. And they give you the best possible buy list price for your cards. They take a small cut, but even after doing that, you usually end up getting about 19% more than any one specific buy list. And if you want to try this out, use promo code ThrabenU to save some on your fees. Alright, I have a very reasonable looking opening hand that has a good amount of early disruption. Basic Swamp, eh? Okay. Vampire Hexmage feels like the best card in my hand from my side of the table. They agree. I probably have to Thoughtseize my opponent to get a feel for what they are doing over there. I am going to play this land. I should have played Urborg, I think. I'm just a little afraid of like smallpox over there. Reef and Karn. I'll take the Karn. We are playing against something in the mono black helm ballpark. That's another swamp. So this turn, I can Urborg. Use this to take the grief that my opponent's about to hardcast. And by grief, I mean take the Karn. Both of those are CMC 4, so Inquisition misses them. We'll go ahead and play out an Elvish Reclaimer and pass my turn. My Wasteland's not exactly great here. Opponent does go with Ancient Tomb over City of Traders here. I should lose crop rotation here, unless they very specifically drew something that they need to protect in this turn cycle. Yeah. Yes. So I turn Wasteland into Dark Depths and buy you into stage. Because of Sudden Edict, specifically, I think I need to activate Elvish Reclaimer right now. Sacrifice Wasteland. Pick up at Dark Depths. I guess there's also Opposition Agent. I should probably also just crop rotation now. Yeah, because of Opposition Agent, let's do this now. And I guess I can technically also cast this Inquisition of Kozilek. I don't expect it to hit, but I think I'd be a fool to not cast it here. Alright. You know my opponent's exact hand. They are not currently prepared to beat what I am doing. I am protected against an Edict effect. My opponent can top deck a Helm next turn, and that'll kill me. I beat an Edict. I don't beat a third Karn. Alright. So we need to dodge Helm. Alright, I'll go to 12. I guess I will go ahead and attack in, just in case. My opponent. So, if my opponent is randomly playing Wasteland, which some of the lists do, I am supposed to make this now. But I can be punished by a random sorcery speed thing that can remove Marit Lage. That's pretty unlikely, since I have another creature protecting me from edicts. Okay, and we do take game 1. Is great. So I have Leyline Helm combo to worry about, which is relatively fast. And I also have like Karn Ensnaring Bridge to worry about. My Elvish Reclaimers are not frequently going to be 3/4s. Both my Abrupt Decays and my Inquisition of Kozilek can miss some very important cards from my opponent. I think I'm interested in Assassin's Trophy. I don't think I'm going to board in Snuff Out. I might play Sylvan's Safekeeper legit just as another creature that is Edict fodder. Position Agent, probably not at its best in this matchup. At least on my side of the table. On my opponent's side of the table is fucking terrifying. I think I just try to play around it to the best of my ability. I think despite the fact that the Inquisitions and Abrupt Decays miss some stuff, both of them hitting Opposition Agent feels like a big enough deal that I'm not going to board them out. Is fine. I'm pretty soft to a turn 1 Opposition Agent, though. Sure. Alright, so this is like the fear of Opposition Agent. That makes it a lot less scary. So if I think my opponent has Opposition Agent, I just play Verdant Catacombs and pass the turn rather than casting Inquisition here. Then next turn, I fire off an Inquisition. When they play Opposition Agent, I fetch in response. For those of you that have seen me just play a Sorcery Speed Opposition Agent, this sort of scenario is why. Yeah, so if my opponent had played this on turn 1, I never would have gotten mana with this card. Whereas now I do. And at my convenience, I can Abrupt Decay this card now. And my opponent gave up a lot of value by telegraphing Opposition Agent rather than just playing it. Sure. How bad is it? Did not board in Caracas, correct? Did not board in Caracas. Okay. I'm on a 6 damage, a turn clock here, which is a lot, but like I have now the entire Dark Depths combo in hand, actually. I think I'm okay. The Shouldered will be a little annoying, though. My opponent will go to above 20 next turn. Dauthi Voidwalker is good. We'll take out a card that is immediately impacting my life total this turn. And then go to 10. I'll go to 8 on my own draw step from the Shouldered trigger. Sure. I think I need to play a Depths here, and then play out a Dark Confidant to just absorb 4 points of damage. So my opponent goes to 21, which is a huge problem. I have to chump with Bob. I go to 5. I'm not really sure how I win, right? I go to 3 here, and that gets me killed by Dauthi Voidwalker. I can Thespian stage Dark Depths, make a 20/20, but my opponent attacks with Dauthi Voidwalker and I still die. Shoulder's a hell of a drug. I will concede to that. Seeing how that went, do I want Caracas over a Wasteland? Sure. I think my opponent potentially punted that game by playing their Opposition Agent wrong, but Shoulder's a hell of a drug when it works. Yeah, this hand is totally fine. My opponent does start with some Graveyard Hate in play, which makes my Elvish Reclaimer worse. I think I'm going to start by trying to slow them down. I can take Agadeem's Awakening here, and my opponent has no black mana. I am down with that. Non-basic lands are not free. Oh, come on. Come on. That's disappointing. Bob here. Whatever I play here probably forces Shouldered's Edict. Unless they just want to Opposition the Agent immediately. I think I'm going to drop a Dauthi Voidwalker. Also, before someone goes after me in the comments, I know City of Traders would have produced black from Urborg, but what I meant by that is they can't do something like Opposition Agent. Oh yeah, we are fully on the beatdown plan here. Alright, crash in. Drop my opponent to 17. Make a new land drop. Play an Elvish Reclaimer. Opponent did not fire off an Edict in response. Great. And I probably have about a 3-turn clock in play. Opposition Agent is fine. Not intending to go for a combo kill. I'm looking to kill my opponent before they can play Karn, tutor Helm, play Helm. I'm more concerned about them just drawing Soul Land and Helm naturally. Sure. Alright, there's Karn. Is this going to get a bridge? Is this going to get a Helm? It is getting a Helm. My opponent currently does not have the mana showing for that to be something that just instantly kills me. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So, oh, this is so fucking cool. I'm gonna go ahead and kill a Karn the Great Creator here. I'm now able to activate artifacts. Keep that thought in mind. That's going to be relevant in a second here. Go ahead and Thought Seize my opponent. You're going to take their Helm of Obedience. Now, this little clause on Dauthi Voidwalker says, if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, instead exile it with a void counter on it. Sacrifice this. Choose an exiled card an opponent owns with a void counter on it. You may play this turn without paying its mana cost. Sacrifice. And that wins us the match. Alright, I've kept a very solid opening hand here. Uh-huh. Fuck. What's my graveyard hate look like? Oh. I think I found a weakness of this deck. Yeah, I'm soft to that. I have a Bojuka Bog. That doesn't do me any good when I'm on the draw here. Alright. Yeah, so I have this crop rotationable / Elvish reclaimerable Bojuka Bog, but when I am on the draw, I am fully pants down to Reanimator. Do I need Assassin's Trophy? Abrupt Decay is pretty bad in this matchup. Am I playing one? I can play one to hit Animate Dead specifically, or I can play a Sylvan Safekeeper. Turok, making my opponent randomly discard cards, is probably not happening at 4 mana. Although I can just play this as a creature that gets bigger if I Thoughtseize or Inquisition my opponent. Yeah, but without any additional fairies or surgicals or whatever, this matchup seems like a stretch. Surgical also seems like it'd be fine in the sideboard with these 7 cards here. Yes, this is fine. I'm keeping this. I'm going to attempt to Inquisition my opponent rather than just hold up crop rotation for Bojuka Bog on turn 1 and hope that the Inquisition slows them down enough. Alright, my opponent's on 6. See if I can punch a hole in their hand. They don't have a way to get a creature out of a graveyard yet. They have 2 ways to get a creature into graveyard with Grizzlebrand in hand. As bad a value as it is, I might need to take Looting here. I can take Petal, and then the only way they make a creature is by hitting another Petal and a Reanimate. But, like, Petal is not a problem card here itself. Looting lets my opponent dig for what they need. If I take Entomb, I can let them Looting Grizzlebrand into the yard, and then they don't have a way to get their second creature into the yard. If I take Faithless Looting, they can flash back Faithless Looting. I guess flashing back Faithless Looting later is a way to get the second creature into the yard. I think I'm going to take Lotus Petal and just guaranteed slow them down. That is a tricky spot. Because, like, my opponent can Looting, dump a Grizzlebrand into the yard, find Lotus Petal, Reanimate between their 3 draws, and I do just get got. But, like, my 1 discard spell was never going to cover everything for the entire match anyway. How bad is it? Okay, Entomb is gone. I will now have an opportunity to Bojuka Bog my opponent. I do probably just need to hold that available here. Go ahead and play out the Verdant Catacombs. They can fetch and then rotate away a land off of this. New Looting? I don't think I actually finished that thought. So I want to put a land into the graveyard with Verdant Catacombs and then rotate another land into the graveyard so that I'm working towards an Elvish Reclaimer being larger. Although, if I had played Yavimaya and my opponent doesn't do anything, I can just play Thespian Stage on my turn. If crop rotation is not needed this turn or next turn, I just use my crop rotation to produce Marit Lage. So that was maybe a mistake. But if I do have to use the crop rotation, it's worse for me if I play the Yavimaya because I have to give up the Yavimaya. Or alternatively, take myself off a color. Take a land out of the deck here. Dauthi Voidwalker. I can play that with crop rotation for Bojuka Bog up. Is a potent little combo. Nuke the stuff that's currently in the graveyard, followed by keeping the graveyard from being a thing in the future. Exhume. No. Junk Yava, Bojuka Bog, my opponent's stuff. I don't have a creature in here. Now, just so you know, these do not have void counters on them. Things get void counters if they are put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere. So the only thing that has a void counter on it right now is Exhume. Let's bash in for some damage. Opponent's at 16. I can play double Bob or second Dauthi Voidwalker. I'm not expecting too much random creature removal from my opponent. I think I'm just going to do 2 Bobs and hope that they put together, give me a way to either disrupt my opponent one more time or just find Dark Depths. Alright, am I getting show and telled? I am. I put in Dauthi Voidwalker. My opponent actually probably does not want to draw 7. Because they risk me... Oh. Now if I draw a discard spell, I can do absolutely disgusting things to my opponent. And I am going to get 3 looks at a discard spell. They also lowered their life total into lethal range if I remove Grizzlebrand. I think that was a very bad draw 7. Alright, there's a Wear Tear. Bob number 1. Elvish Reclaimer. Bob number 2, Vampire Hexmage. Show and Tell, Verdant Catacombs, discarded. I'm going to play a Dark Depths. Play an Elvish Reclaimer. Play a Vampire Hexmage. Grizzlebrand's lifelink means that I can't attack in with Bob's this turn. I, air quotes, just get to do this. Puts him to 2. Reanimate is off the table for a large number of reasons as of right now. And I feel pretty good about having this locked up, but things can happen. Okay, that's good enough for the concession. The game where I'm on the draw is tough. And, like, now my opponent probably won't have things like... Well, actually, they might still Wear Tear me. But probably not. This is an awesome hand of Magic the Gathering cards that I think is just fully too slow on the draw. Does nothing on turn 1. It does nothing on my opponent's turn 2. Like, I can turn 1 Elvish Reclaimer, turn 2 Bojuka Bog, if I find that acceptable as far as speed goes. But that requires my opponent not to just turn 2 me or turn 1 me when they are on the play. I can mulligan this looking for a crop rotation hand. Oh, I wish I had some surgicals. You know what? I think I'm never just beating my opponent's best hands. I'm going to keep this. Like, they're on the play. If they can turn 1 me, like, they turn 1 me, I don't beat that. Okay? Alright, unmask targeting themselves. Yeah. So I am basically never beating the hand where they just turn 1 Grizzlebrand me and draw 14. Well, are they going to reanimate or are they going to exhume? Or animate dead? Going to animate dead. I can Reclaimer into Caracas, but I presume that I will end up getting griefed or thought seized or whatever this turn. Alright, they are going deeper. Yeah, so grief makes me lose Elvish Reclaimer. And by extension, most of the power of this hand. The current plan is play Dark Depths, hope to top deck Urborg for Vampire Hexmage. Alright, 13 more cards in hand. Alright, my opponent's just ending their turn. Okay, having missed on this turn, my opponent attacks for 6, draws another set of cards. Like, they're willing to discard Show and Tells here, so they surely have another thing to do beyond this. I guess I could play one more turn of Magic, but we're fully dead. Alright, there's a Grief. Also, I'm going to be honest with you, I walked away from the computer for like 3 minutes while my opponent was doing their stuff on their turn. They're playing slowly, and I've lost focus on this game. Alright, I lose a Bob there. Opponent snags a C. Zooms in Atraxa. Yeah, my opponent's playing slowly enough that I'm just going to concede here. To not waste more of my time. Alright. I'm on the draw with something that I think is a pretty reasonable hand. I've got turn 1 Ignoble Hierarch into turn 2 Hexmage and Depths. Nice looking Swamp. Swamp Bobble. Maybe like a Black Saga Storm deck or something in that general ballpark. I'm eating a Duress, which doesn't actually take my best cards here. I lose crop rotation. Not the end of the world here. We'll just go ahead and cast an Ignoble Hierarch. My cat is making sad scratching noises at the door. Oh, that's gonna be brutal since I drew another Hexmage. Fuck. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Actually, perfectly happy with this. Destroy that land. Play out an Elvish Reclaimer. A mighty attack for 1 damage. Drops my opponent to 19. Is there a follow-up play? Or is it just mana pass? There's a Wishclaw Talisman. My opponent knows that oh yeah. They know that I have Abrupt Decay. That's a good draw. Don't have enough mana to Wishclaw Talisman, discard spell, and Abrupt Decay the Talisman. Alright, I sneezed and totally just lost my focus. Okay. I don't have enough mana to Wishclaw Talisman for a discard spell, and then Abrupt Decay the Wishclaw Talisman on top of that. Ojuka Bog won't disrupt an Echo of Eons based line. I can't Wishclaw for depths. That's not what I meant to say. Can't Wishclaw for Hexmage. I think I Wishclaw for Dauthi Voidwalker and play Dauthi Voidwalker. That way an Echo based line doesn't get me. Ugh. Alright, so Slam Voidwalker. Back in for 1, which becomes 2 damage. Graveyard's off. Ad Naus isn't off. God. 3 initial mana. Cabal Ritual. That 4 mana. Okay, so it is going to be an Ad Naus based line now. No imprint on Chrome Box. Infernal Tutor. Double Crack. LEDs. Or Ad Naus. This is very much not a guaranteed Ad Naus. Like, it's going to be a very good Ad Naus, but is this enough? 2 initial mana plus 6 more LED mana. It feels like that's enough. Turn count's already enough. Alright. So this is playing out 3 artifacts. Sorry, 4 artifacts. Storm count's already lethal. Burning Wish, Crack already gets there. Alright, there is the Tendrils for the kill. And I will concede. I don't really get better at this matchup. I guess I'll play Assassin's Trophy for things like play out Wishclaw Talismans. That's not really the best. And I might play Turok to just kind of round out the deck list. Well, I don't really know that there's cards here that I want to cut. Like, my cards are very reasonable and let me play good games of Magic. I actually might not sideboard. I actually don't know if I sideboard. This is the same sort of thing that's happened with a lot of my hands, where if I draw a colored land, the hand is great, and if I don't, the hand is medium. Still think I'm keeping a hand that can Thoughtseize on turn 1 and potentially produce a turn 3 Marit Lage. Like, my fail case still just involves turn 2 Elvish Reclaimer. Oh. Yeah, I'll take your redraw here. And you can Dark Ritual to tear apart my hand. And I'm good with that. Oh, sorry. I thought that was going to be Dark Ritual into double Thoughtseize, and it was not. Alright, I'm going for my Reclaimer. Wasteland. Not my best draw. Don't want another colorless land here. Like, I'm definitely feeling these double pip cards in this very heavy colorless land deck. I'm supposed to play Dark Depths on that turn. But if... Oh, to cast a spell. Like, my opening hands that I'm keeping look okay. Like, they have problems. Don't get me wrong, but they look okay. I am just going to try to kill my opponent next turn. Like, if I die for not Thoughtseizing them, I die for not Thoughtseizing them, but I don't feel like I have a lot of time here. Okay, cool. No sideboard changes. I will keep this hand. It has a turn 1 Thoughtseize. It has a Wasteland for if my opponent plays an artifact land or an Ancient Tomb. Otherwise, it has some acceleration. Alright, Thoughtseize down. Reclaimer versus Ignoble Hierarch. Play Noble Hierarch, I can play Reclaimer and Bob next turn. But I do kind of feel like I'm going to need Bob to bridge me to the mid game. Like, I think I am going to need to interact with my opponent. Up to 3 mana? Wishclaw Talisman. My opponent immediately activates it. A shame that I don't have something like a Collector Oof here that would just win me the game. So I'm pretty sure that I just need to take out this City of Traders. And I think I'm just going to play a Bob and pass. I need a little bit more than what I have now. Alright, it's bad. Wishclaw. Rack some LEDs. There's an Adnaz from 18, which probably kills me. Alright, let's see how bad it is. Opponent reveals a bunch of cards and starts thinking at 9 whether or not they've got the kill. Seems likely, right? Triple Petal plus Dark Rit is Storm of 9. New Wishclaw, 6 total mana. We're down to 5 total mana. Activate, Tendrils me. Alright, a Thoughtseize just in case. 4 mana, Tendrils, I'm dead. Yeah. I win this match if I have Collector Oof or a similarly hateful card in my deck list. But I just don't have anything like that. And this is kind of the second round where I feel like I just haven't had good cards for matchups. Like, I don't have great hateful answers for artifacts. I don't have good answers for the graveyard. I'm digging the mid-range gameplay of this deck list, but I feel like the sideboard just needs to be completely redone. I just feel like I'm missing critical tools. Yeah, definitely feeling all these colorless lands in the opening hand here. I think I'm just going to mulligan this one. This is a reasonable Magic the Gathering hand. That probably is just trying to win with Dauthi Voidwalkers. I'll pitch Inquisition of Kozilek here. I'm gonna fetch here. Put a land into the graveyard. Grab a Bayou. If I had a swamp, I think I would just grab a swamp here. Painter's Servant, I'll be taking that. We are playing against the Painter / 8-cast hybrid deck list. I also don't have something like an Emrakul for this matchup, or okay, sure. So I will jam Dauthi Voidwalker. Anyway, not having something like Collector Oof here that just blows artifacts out of the water sucks. And definitely have some problems with multi-spelling because of all the colorless lands here. But my opponent will probably very aggressively Metallic Rebuke to use their mana. If I play Dauthi Voidwalker, I just like use my entire turn's worth of mana. So I think I'm actually supposed to just play Ignoble Hierarch here. And then Elvish Reclaimer. This one eats the Metallic Rebuke. And I'll attack for 3, increase to 4. Given the Ancient Tomb on the other side of the table, this is a very relevant amount of damage. Bobble's fine. My opponent can now cast Divination. And keep in mind that I do have access to some things off Dauthi Voidwalker, but generally speaking, I think it's just going to be best to continue to attack with it. My opponent's at 12. They have a combo kill. Like, I have to respect that. Ooh. Will you send anything neat to exile? Thought Monitor's neat. Dauthi Voidwalker is always unblockable, though. Wasteland's great as a tempo play here. I'll go ahead and cast a Dauthi Voidwalker. Get my opponent for 4. That brings them to 8. If they activate Wasteland Tomb, they are dead on board to 2 copies of Dauthi Voidwalker. I think I go after Otawara accordingly. But it's not clear to me that that is just correct. Because, like, there are Painter Grindstone to activate lines that require my opponent to have additional mana. The Painter's still in the graveyard, I guess. Maybe I do go after the Ancient Tomb there. Painter, Grindstone, Soul Land, activate, kills me. Yeah, I should have gone after Ancient Tomb. Doesn't matter this time, but I think what I did was wrong. There's fine reasoning behind it, but I think this is, unless I get comboed off on this exact turn, I almost always win. Yeah, I'm just like not a big fan of my sideboarding options against artifact decks. Like I have 2 additional things I can bring in that can answer opposing permanents, but yeah. I also probably need to bring in Plague Engineer for Thopter tokens, because those historically are a major pain in the butt for this sort of deck. I think I'll play Caracas for Emery, Plague Engineer for Inquisition misses a bunch of my opponent's most important cards. Despite the fact that it attacks Urza's Saga, I think I'm going to pull out a Wasteland since I'm bringing in a Caracas. And then I might play a couple of these cards to help out with early Emerys. They just make my Bobs a little worse, which does make me nervous. Opposition agents can probably come out here, although they do stop my opponent from finding Shadow Spear. Unless I have Ignoble Hierarch specifically, though, I feel like I'm going to be too slow at stopping that a lot of the time anyway. Turn 1, Ignoble Hierarch pass. Turn 2, draw land, crop rotation, Hexmage depths, question mark, question mark, question mark. And it's very soft to a counterspell. I think I'm going to keep it anyway. Basic Island. Innate Shadow Spear. Metalcraft is on. That's the turn. Player Manador can pass. No Urza Saga, which is good for me. Opponent almost certainly has a counterspell. I need this to resolve, I think, as this game goes long. I'm going to try to get my opponent to counter a Vampire Hexmage here, which is a redundant card for me, but they don't know that. Yeah. So we'll let that get countered past the turn. Opponent's got a lot of mana, but nothing to do with it. Do this again, or do I just play Bob now? I think I just play Bob now. Bob resolving has huge upside, and I don't necessarily want to throw away the other half of my combo when I have double crop rotation in hand to find depths in the future. All right, there is an Urza's Saga. I can crop rotation for a Wasteland to take that out. There's a stage. I do think I want a crop rotation here. I think I'm not in a rush to end this game, given the resources that I do have. Force of Negation is fine. I think I just run that back. Use my way. Oh my god, I physically clicked on the wrong card. I am so upset. Okay. Whatever. I think this game just went from being borderline unlosable to incredibly hard. Yep. Draw my cards. Bayou, so I control a swamp. I am fine playing out a Vampire Hexmage here. Don't get to attack with Bob. They get a token. My opponent's going for floating a mana here. They're going for a combo kill. See if they're smart. Yep. If they name black, I lose. Yep. So now snuff out. Cannot target this. Alright. So I lose this one for misclicking on Ancient Tomb instead of Urza Saga. See if we can run that back in another game and do better. I am fine keeping this hand. It's not the fastest or most impressive thing in the world, but I'm good with it. I'm mostly kind of hoping that the Abrupt Decay is good against something. Like, I would love... That's going to be annoying. Might end up just Abrupt Decaying that Spell Bomb. Yeah, this is definitely a Marit Lage hand. I think I'm good with just taking out the Spell Bomb. And if my opponent wants to trade their Lotus Petal for a random card and further decrease their artifact count, I'm good with that. Again, though, I hate that I have no Electro Oof type card to just serve as a hammer in this matchup. The 8 cast decks, generally speaking, have some of the highest win rates in Legacy. Like, they are very, very powerful. Even when you do have some degree of hate for them. When you don't, games feel real rough as they go long. Alright, Saga is now available. don't think I'm ready for a combo attempt yet. I think I'm gonna play some mid-range cards. Since I have access to both, Metallic Rebuke is fine. That's a 2-for-1 in my direction. Anyway, since I have access to both Hexmage and Depths, I'm not worried about the Pithing Needle that an Urza Saga can fetch. I'm, in fact, more worried about it finding Grindstone, and I just die to a combo kill. I also have Otawara to play around, I guess. I have Crop Rotation Depths activate in this turn cycle if I would like it. I have a better line, though. There's so many things to play around here. It's also possible I'm supposed to just Wasteland Urza Saga and drag this game on. There's like Force of Negation, Metallic Rebuke, Pithing Needle, Otawara, second random spell bomb. A lot of things to think about. I'm gonna go Yavimaya, past Hexmage, past turn. They get to Urza Saga. I think in the upkeep, I now go for Crop Rotation, sacrificing a Bayou. Got a Dark Depths. Now Pithing Needle does not stop me from producing a Marit Lage in any capacity. I have 1, 2, activate, or sack. Do this. Alright, let's see if I die. Do a Grindstone combo this turn. Alright, Grindstone. Opponent has 4 mana so far towards it. A land drop gets them to Painter, activate. I'm dead. Well, it must not be that easy because they're stalling out here. Alright. I was about to say, now it requires Soul Land. Soul Land, Painter, 3 mana, activate is still a kill. Frustrating. They didn't have that because they just would have played it before. Yeah, so like I make my Marit Lage, but I don't have an Emrakul or equivalent in my deck, so I just lose to that. GG's. So that's it. We've reached the end of the league here. I am a fan of the gameplay patterns that this deck presented. However, I felt like I was playing the worst deck in most of my rounds, and I feel like my sideboard just fully failed me all league. I did not have access to something that hosed artifact decks. I did not have access to enough stuff to make a matchup like Reanimator reasonable. While I think the main deck is perfectly reasonable by legacy standards, I think the sideboard just needs to fully be revamped. I don't think I am bringing the tools to the table that I need to be competitive in an online league where I expect to play against a decent amount of graveyard-based combo as well as artifact-based decks. You know, if this deck has a couple of Collector Oof, Seeds of Innocence, something of that nature that really hoses artifacts hard, I think I end up with another win in this league, not counting my like clear misclick in that final round. Like, we win that round, we go 2-3. I think with a better sideboard that I had decent options for, I think I can go a little bit harder than that in the average league. So I think I would fully cut the Taurox. I don't think that card is good here. I don't think you need Sylvan Safekeeper. Like, I get the fact that you want to protect Marit Lage from removal, but it's not going to be tutorable here. And against white decks, I think your plan for removal spells is force them to use them on your Dark Confidants and Dauthi Voidwalkers and opposition agents or Mana Dorks or whatever. And like, you're not looking to sacrifice your lands. On that note, I'm not really sure how good 3 mana cards are in this deck. Like, especially since Dark Depths doesn't tap for mana innately, and we only have 3 copies of like Urborg lands that make it tap for mana. I was frequently finding like chokes and Plague Engineers and stuff like that stuck in my hand. So I think there's good ideas here in the overall deck building, but I think this exact 75 as it is needs to be scrapped, and this, like, you need to rebuild the deck, keeping your matchup spread in mind and making sure you're prepared for the matchups that you're actually going to see. All right, folks, if you have any ideas for what you should be changing in this deck list, please throw those down in the comments below to help our good friend Jeffrey, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya.